I would like to first congratulate the students, the management, and above all Rahul Kararji and his father for creating such a vision, such a wonderful nursery of democracy. Because I have been to many, many universities. I have taught in Delhi University for 16 years, but I have not seen such a wonderful arena where democracy can flourish. And if you will allow me, I'll prefer to speak in Hindustani, क्योंकि वो हमारी ज़बान है जिसमें हम सिर्फ दिमाग को नहीं छूते, दिल को छूते हैं. तो मैं दिल को छूने की बातें करना चाहता हूं आपके साथ. देखिए, भारत एक कमाल की डेमोक्रेसी है. And all our leaders, from Dr. Ambedkar to Maulana Azad to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to Sardar Patel to Mahatma Gandhi, of course, and all the great leaders, they came involved in politics, in the freedom movement as students. And above all, Bhagat Singh. Bhagat Singh ने 16-17 साल की उम्र में फैसला कर लिया कि मुझे अपनी जान लगा देनी है देश की आज़ादी के लिए. और सिर्फ देश की आज़ादी नहीं चाहते थे, वो देश को बदल देना चाहते थे, वो मानसिकता बदल देना चाहते थे, सोच बदल देना चाहते थे. और वही मैं आपसे आज कहता हूं कि जब आप बात करते हो डेमोक्रेसी की, तो डेमोक्रेसी क्या है? डेमोक्रेसी क्या इलेक्शन लड़ने का नाम है? क्या इलेक्शन जीतने का नाम है? क्या वोट डालने का नाम है? नहीं मेरे दोस्तों, डेमोक्रेसी सिर्फ इलेक्शन लड़ने का नाम नहीं है. डेमोक्रेसी का मतलब है जस्टिस फॉर एवरीबॉडी. डेमोक्रेसी का मतलब है रूल ऑफ लॉ. डेमोक्रेसी का मतलब है इक्वालिटी फॉर एवरीवन, राइजिंग अबव क्लास, कास्ट, रिलीजन, रीजन, जेंडर. इट मीन्स इक्वालिटी एंड रूल ऑफ लॉ, कि कानून के सामने सब बराबर होंगे, कोई बड़ा छोटा नहीं होगा, वो चाहे प्रधानमंत्री हो चाहे वो पियोन हो. ये है डेमोक्रेसी. तो इस डेमोक्रेसी को बनाने में देखिए, in 1947 when India got its independence, there were many countries in Africa, in Asia, all around the world which got their freedom. But democracy did not survive. Freedom did not survive. Justice did not survive in those countries. But I salute the framers of our constitution, the founders of our nation, who laid a foundation above which I have not seen another constitution. मैं पढ़ाता था constitutions सारी दुनिया के, कंपैरेटिव पॉलिटिक्स पढ़ाता था, मैंने सारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का अध्ययन किया है, लेकिन मेरे हिसाब से भारत के संविधान जैसा दूसरा कोई संविधान नहीं है. लेकिन संविधान तो एक किताब होता है, उसको चलाने वाले कैसे हैं उस पर डिपेंड करता है कि वो किताब में जान पड़ेगी या किताब मुर्दा हो जाएगी. आप देखिए, आपने नाम सुना होगा सोक्रेटिस का, प्लेटो का, अरिस्टोटल का, जिनको एक तरह से फाउंडर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी कहा जाता है. बुनियाद रखी थी लोकतंत्र की ग्रीस में, यूनान में. और उस वक्त क्या करते थे सोक्रेटिस? यूथ को जमा करके, अपने स्टूडेंट्स को जमा करके सवाल पूछना सिखाते थे. सवाल पूछो, व्हाई, वेयर, हाउ, व्हेन. उनके ऊपर आरोप लगा कि ही इज पॉइजनिंग द माइंड्स एंड हार्ट्स ऑफ द यूथ एंड ही हैड टू डाई. उनको मार दिया गया, उन्हें जहर पीना पड़ा. किस लिए? ओके, सो इट्स ओके. I mean, I don't mind speaking in English because I was told that around 20% of students are from across India who do not understand Hindi. But I believe that it is a language which reaches out to everyone. And English, of course, today is lingua franca. So I was talking about Socrates, and Socrates was punished for telling the students what democracy is, what justice is, what truth is. And that's why youth is important. He laid the foundation. Mahatma Gandhi laid the foundation. He energized the students, the youth. And after independence, it is the youth, it is the universities which were created. IIM, MIT, various universities from Delhi University to every university. That's where were the real nurseries of democracy. And I remember in 1969 when I joined Delhi University as a student of political science. Arun Jaitley ji also joined the same year, 1969. Sitaram Yechury joined Jawaharlal Nehru University 2 years after that. Prakash Karat and his wife Brinda Karat joined in 1969. Rajat Sharma, you must have heard of Rajat Sharma. He also joined in 1969. We were opposite to each other. I was one of the founders of SFI. He was the leader of ABVP. We used to fight, but then sit down together how to work for the students. That is what democracy is all about. And that is the time, 65 to 75 is the time when the universities were the real, nurseries of democracy all over the world. In France, there was a revolt against de Gaulle, General de Gaulle, who was one of the most powerful European leaders. There was a revolt by students. It was led by students in France, and he had to resign. There was a revolt in America against Vietnam War. The students said in all the universities, the Harvard, Columbia, everywhere students went on a strike. They said, we are against the war in Vietnam. They did not understand, stand with false nationalism. They said nationalism today is not to stand with America, not to stand with the president, but to stand against them, to save the country and save the world. And as a result, America had to withdraw from Vietnam. And it was not only in America. I remember in my young days, in Delhi University, we came together, the ABVP and SFI and Youth Congress, we all came together to organize demonstrations against the Vietnam War, to stand up for the people of Vietnam. This was in 1969, 70, 71. And that was the time when all over the world students were revolting. And in India, both the movements developed. If you remember, I'm going back to those times. Naxalite movement also came up from 68 to 74. That is the time when Naxalite movement came. That is the time when what you call hippie movement also emerged. What was hippie movement? Older people will know, younger people must know. What was hippie movement? Hippie movement was a movement against the traditions. To say, I will wear what I want to wear. I will wear the color I want to wear. I will carry what I want to carry. I don't enslave me in a cage of past. I want to look up to the future. And although they went to the other extreme, hippies went to the other extreme, but that happens. When youth revolts, it goes to the extreme, but comes back to the center. That is all the time when Naxalite movement came. Most of the most intelligent, brilliant students and St. Xavier's College, in Calcutta's colleges, Bombay's colleges, the most brilliant, the toppers, they became Naxalites. But then again, they also, I know some of them, they came back to the mainstream, they came back to what India is wonderful, and they have contributed wonderfully to making of this country. And then came the JP movement in 1974. It was also led by students, especially in Gujarat and Bihar. The universities became the nurseries of democracy. When Indira Gandhi was most powerful, she had won the Bangladesh war. She had become the Durga Mata. Everybody was praising her. All the leaders, all the parties, the whole parliament had surrendered to her. But the students stood up. They said, no, we do not agree. They stood up against Indira Gandhi. Policies of oppression. I was one of those. An emergency was declared in 1975. We all went to jail. And in fact, those jails became the real nursery of democracy. Most of the leaders from Lalu Prasad Yadav to Mulayam Singh Yadav to Sitaram Yechury to Arun Jaitley, all the leaders you see today, including Modi ji and others, they were produced by that movement against emergency, against Indira Gandhi. Although I am a great admirer of Indira Gandhi today. But at that moment, it was my duty to stand up. And we stood up and we went to jail, we went to prison. I had become a lecturer in 1974 in Delhi University. As soon as I passed, I became a lecturer. So I lost my job, but I didn't care. For me, country was more important. So what I'm trying to say is that students have played an important role in making of this nation. This nation has emerged because our students have asked questions. But students cannot do that unless the management allows them to do. Unless the teachers make them understand that the Real teaching, real education is to stand up against injustice, to ask questions, not to believe everything which is told to you. And that's where I will also speak about AI. Google tells you a lot. Today, a lot of people depend on Google, Guru Google, but Google doesn't tell you the truth. Don't depend on that. Don't depend on WhatsApp University. And again, I tell you, don't depend on AI. AI is not a god. AI is not getting information from the skies. AI gives you whatever is available in the net, in the web. And it is many, many times very wrong. If your question is not correct, the answer will be wrong. And even so, you have to be very, very careful. And today's generation, this Gen Z, has to be very, very cautious, because they are getting everything on a platter, but that platter may make them lazy, stop them from thinking, take away their freedom and freedom to think and ask questions. And unless that happens, let me tell you, they cannot grow. Society will not grow. Society will start decaying. Because change is permanent, but change depends on the youth, not on us. We have done our part. Now it depends on you. You are the future. Next 30, 40, 50 years are yours. And if you take the country in the right direction, then country will grow. Although I have complete faith that which country has the maximum youth? Not China, India. But this youth has to be educated properly, has to be healthy, has to be trained, has to be disciplined. Not too disciplined. I don't believe in too much of discipline. Some discipline, of course, is necessary. This youth is going to lead the world. Indians are going to lead the world. I'm not saying it as a jumla. I'm saying it because I believe it. Because in the coming times, India is producing, technically savvy, educated, intelligent boys and girls. But the only thing, as I have always told my students, is that learn to question your teachers, learn to question your books, learn to question everything around you. Don't believe what is told to you. That is the way for innovation. As I was outside telling some students when I went to this, pavilion of the government and the parliament, agar Newton, apple fell on Newton's head, but is it for the first time that the apple fell? No. Apples were falling for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But nobody was asking the question, why the apple is falling here? Why it's not going up? Well, Newton asked this question, why the apple falls on my head? And because he asked the right question, therefore you were able to go to the moon and you were able to go to the space. If you had not asked this question, you wouldn't have got the answers which we have today. So he asked the question, right question. So don't be afraid of asking even the silliest of questions. No question is ever silly. Every question has a meaning and a purpose. And that was the question, ye apple gira kyun? And you learn about gravity, you learn how to break the gravity, how to create a rocket, how to go up. And therefore, my message to all of you, if you want to create universities which are nurseries of democracy, which are nurseries of the future, which are nurseries where India will emerge as a world leader, Vishwa Guru ban ke aayega. Vishwa Guru, hum sirf कहने से नहीं बनेंगे. We have to be number one in every area, and especially our morality has to be strong. In the past, why were we called Guru? We were not, creating rockets, or we were not ahead in the field of science. But even 30 years, 40 years back, India, when we were called Vishwa Guru. Why were we called Vishwa Guru? Because of our moral strength. So this moral strength is extremely important. And I believe I was talking to Rahul Saab, and he was also very concerned about it, that we must teach moral sciences to our children, our students. And we must also teach them how to live together. We have lived together for thousands of years, and we will create this nation if we work together, if we do not divide, and that division has to be fought. And that division, whether it is in the name of caste, in the name of religion, in the name of region, in the name of language, all that has to be fought. We must respect all languages. We must respect all religions. We must respect all castes. But at the same time, there should be bridges, not walls between us. And those bridges have to be created by this young generation, by the universities. So I am extremely grateful to you for inviting me, for allowing me to speak. And I have worked with virtually, I was fortunate to meet Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in 1960 at the age of 10. And then I met every Prime Minister, interviewed from Indira Gandhi to Narendra Modi ji. I have interviewed every Prime Minister, known them, talked to them, seen the human face behind them. And let me tell you, every one of them has contributed wonderfully to making of this nation. So don't ask the question, who is the best Prime Minister? Never ask the question. They have all contributed. They have all made mistakes. They have all made mistakes because who works with dedication, who is innovative, will make mistakes. So don't look at the mistakes. Be positive.
True.
Look at how they have contributed, how Indira Gandhi made mistakes. I was the one who fought against Indira Gandhi. I've fought against many of these leaders, but I today appreciate Indira Gandhi for what she did. I don't want to talk about what was wrong. Similarly, Manmohan Singh, Rajiv Gandhi brought us together in the era we are today. I remember I was telling some students outside that we went to the United States in 1987. Reagan was the president. Rajiv was the prime minister. We went to Washington. And Rajiv Gandhi spoke to President Reagan. We wanted a supercomputer for our space studies and for environment. Reagan said, we cannot give you a supercomputer because unless you sign NPT. And India was not ready to sign NPT. Rajiv Gandhi refused. When we were returning in the flight, he called some of us to his chamber. Prime Minister has a separate chamber in the aircraft. We were invited. He said, Dekho, Reagan ne mana kar diya, what should we do? So we said, Rajiv ji, why can't our scientists create this supercomputer? He said they can, but we have to divert resources. We have to divert our resources. And we decided to divert the resources to our scientists in Bangalore. And in order to, because we were denied the supercomputer, we became a computer power in the world. And if we had been given the supercomputer, we may not have moved the way we could. And therefore, sometimes denial also helps. So let me say that all our Prime Ministers have contributed. And thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you.
The management and Rahul Saab and all the students. Thank you very much.